Hey, Brewer fans. Welcome back to the Brew Review podcast number 9. On today's podcast episode, we're going to be going over the top 30 future brewers. Scott's got an MLB Food Fest update, and we also have some fan email to get to, so plenty to get to. With me today, we've got Scott calling from Las Vegas. We've got Vince calling from the nation's capital, I believe, and I'm calling from a Taco Bell drive-thru in West Dallas, Wisconsin.
Nice. Quesadilla?
And I'm also ordering. Scott's in illustrious Great Man Studios, but however, I'm calling from an iPhone 4S, though, actually. So,
nice.
Too shabby.
Craig, are you getting a quesadilla?
Possibly.
Nice.
I'll see if I can make it to the window before the podcast's over. I'm not going to, with the employees they have here, I'm not going to hold my breath. Anyway, okay, so Chad's not with us again. He wasn't able to make it. Vince was his reasoning this time. I know he was not a huge minor league fan, but what?
I guess he said that he had to be in some sort of singing group at an old person's home. I couldn't get all the details. He just sort of ended up there after playing bingo earlier this week.
Oh yeah, he does do that once a month. That's right. I forgot about that shit.
Yeah, I think he's actually been living there for the last 3 days, but I don't really know.
We should try to maybe work on his schedule. It's kind of difficult. Very busy man. All right, Scott, why don't you start off with your MLB food thingy?
Yeah, don't worry. This will be quick and painless, Craig. But with all this talk about Taco Bell and delicious food like that, I had to bring it up. I actually saw here, they picked like the top food from each stadium, and I was a little bit disappointed with the Brewers pick. They picked the cheddar beer brat, and the beer brat is just great all on its own. We don't need to infuse cheese into everything, and I think that's gross, and I was disappointed with the pick. But it's definitely not as bad as. Oh, I also wanted to bring up the Oakland A's have already they've really embraced Chris Davis. Apparently, their top food there is the Monty Crush Davis Cristo. So he's already got a sandwich named after, and apparently it's the best thing in their park. But the worst absolute thing about it. Or the worst food, I'm going to give that to Seattle. And Seattle's is toasted grasshoppers. And I know that Seattle as a whole really likes to be like progressive and forward thinking and all that kind of stuff. But like grasshoppers is not the answer. Like I think grasshoppers is something that like no one would ever eat, or if people do want to eat it, they would eat it if they were about to die and there was no other food around. So I think that's a horrible pick, and I'm very disappointed in Seattle.
Great pick, Scott. That's a very good analysis for our viewers in West Dallas and all around the state of Wisconsin. It's very, very interesting.
And former brewer Chris Crush Davis, wow, he's unfortunately living one of your lifelong dreams of having a sandwich named after him, but wow, kudos to him. So, okay, without further ado, we will go on to our minor league. This is kind of our preseason, even though the season's already started, our preseason minor league brewers, top 30 future, well, it's the top 30 future brewers, and it's put together by our minor league analyst, Brandon, who wasn't able to join us this evening. But he did provide me with his list. So without further ado, I'll go through the list 30, and then we'll end up with our number one prospect in reverse order. Also mentioned what level of minor leagues they've started this year off at, so you have some idea of how close to the majors these players are. And includes, of course, for the first time, a lot of our 2017 draft picks as well. So number 6 is a shocker. So wait for that. Here we go. Number 30 on the list is right-handed pitcher Zach Brown. He's at Double-A this year. Number 29 on the list.
Doesn't Zach Brown have a band?
Yes, this luckily is a different Zach Brown.
Thank God.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep. This was a pitcher we drafted a few years ago out of the University of Kentucky. So 29th top feature brewer is outfielder Demi Oramole. He's at Single A, Wisconsin Timber Rattlers. 28th prospect is right-handed pitcher Josh Pennington. He's at Single A, Wisconsin as well. He came over as one of the pieces from Boston in the Tyler Thornburg trade. That's paying dividends to the Brewers, obviously. Number 27 on the list. He's breaking a record. He's been on Brandon's minor league top 30 future Brewers for 12 straight years. That's right-handed pitcher Tim Dillard. He's at AAA Colorado Springs. Brandon, I kind of questioned him still being on this list, and he said that he's been on the list all 6 years. We weren't doing Brew Review. Also, he kept him on the list all those years. He also says that in spite of my trepidation on having Dillard still included in the list, he said that he believes he still has a very high ceiling, albeit a low floor. I said to please explain himself, and he said that, not necessarily on the field, but he said that he has a ceiling of a Bob Uecker and a floor of the clubhouse attendants with a sense of humor. So that's his take on Tim Dillard. So anyway,
I hope he's not going to ask me to co-sign a car loan like the last clubhouse attendant.
Oh, we have to
Craig,
tell that
can you,
story.
Craig, can you play that one clip of Scott interviewing Tim Dillard now at this point? Can we edit that in or have one of the interns do it?
Oh, I could do maybe Scott, could you have one of the interns maybe do like an audio soundbite? I know that clip went viral, so I'm sure we'll be able to find it on YouTube. So
I'd like to think that they're going to do it, but I doubt it. Our interns are not very good.
Nice. I'm starting to think this will take the entire half hour to get through this list. Number 26, right-handed pitcher Trace Supek is at high A ball this year. Number 25, outfielder Larry Ernesto is in rookie ball. Number 24, right-handed pitcher Adrian Hauser, Double A. 23, right-handed pitcher Cody Ponce is Double A. 22, catcher Mario Feliciano is at high A. 21, outfielder Troy Stokes Jr. is at Double A Biloxi. Number 20, right-handed pitcher Caden Lemons is in rookie ball. He was the first 2017 draftee on the list. Number 19, shortstop Gene Carmona, rookie ball. 18, outfielder Trent Grisham at Double A, formerly called, his name was formerly Trent Clark. He's changed his name officially now to Trent Grisham. Good for you. 17, left-handed pitcher Cody Medeiros, Double A. Number 16, left-handed pitcher Nathan Kirby at high A. Number 15, right-handed pitcher returning from injury, Phil Bickford, high A. Number 14, another piece of the Tyler Thornburg trade, shortstop Mauricio Dubon, AAA. Number 13, first baseman Jake Gatewood, Double A. Number 12, third baseman Lucic Irsig, Double A. Number 11, currently with the big club, but probably going to spend most of the year at AAA, catcher Jacob Nottingham. Here we go with our top 10 future Brewers. Right. Number 10, outfielder Brett Phillips, AAA, Colorado Springs, of course. Number 9, right-handed pitcher Taylor Williams, currently with the big club, but also started the year at Colorado Springs. Number
you have rated a lot higher, actually, Craig. Taylor Williams, and I agree with you completely. That's good. I think he's really shown a lot so far this year.
Yep. Number 8, right-handed pitcher Luis Ortiz, member of the Jonathan Lucroy trade, Double A this year. Number 7, Vince mentioned on our last podcast, someone who could maybe help out this year. That's right-handed pitcher Freddie Peralta, AAA. Number 6 was a 2007 draftee that Brand has much higher than industry standard on these lists, and that's catcher KJ Harrison at Single A, Wisconsin.
That's really
drafted out of University of Oregon. Number 5, right-handed pitcher Brandon Woodruff at AAA, doing very well down there. He's 2-0 with a 1.65 ERA as of this broadcast. Number 4, outfielder Tristan Lutz, Single A. He was another 2017 draftee. Number 3, outfielder Corey Ray at Double-A. Number 2, second baseman Keston Hira, high A ball. And his number 1 prospect for the preseason 2018 Milwaukee Brewer is right-handed pitcher Corbin Burns at Colorado Springs, and he's also off to a pretty solid start. So I guess before we get too much other discussion, do you guys have any surprises on the list, or anyone that you want to highlight as far as either agreement or disagreement with Brandon's rankings, I guess?
Well, maybe I missed it, but where was Eric Arnett? I don't think I heard his name.
Good question. He didn't make the top 30, so don't think he. Yeah. Possibly should have hoped
Anton Williamson
lasted one more pick.
I think Eric Arnett, he really illustrates why Tim Dillard is ranked so high on this list. I mean, Dillard has just proven so much longevity, and Arnett, I don't believe he plays baseball anymore for quite some time.
Last time Brew Review did a prospect list, I think Eric Arnett was in the top 5. I just don't understand what happened. Like, where could he have gone?
I actually bought an autographed card of his on eBay just to remind myself. Didn't
you give it to Craig for a gift one Christmas?
No, I didn't give him that one yet. But, Craig, if you write your letter to Santa, then you just make it.
All right. Well, I'll chime in with a few things. Disagreements, I guess, with Brandon. I thought that he had Corey Ray a little bit high at number 3 overall. Obviously, we've known Corey Ray has struggled. He was a top 5 pick from just a few years back, and great expectations, but he's really not hitting very well. Brandon thinks that he's going to have a surprisingly good year this year in the minors and kind of basically re-up his prospect status. However, he kind of compares him to a major leaguer who won't be an all-star by any means, but solid contributor, kind of like Curtis Granderson. He says basically Curtis Granderson with less power but more speed. So I don't know how exciting that exactly is, but he believes he will be a future major leaguer. So that in and of itself, I guess, is worth a number 3 ranking. For what it's worth, I think Granderson was a couple-time all-star, isn't he? Was he? Yeah, very, very possible. So, I mean, yeah, if he turns out to be that good of a player, I think, the Brewers will definitely not regret the pick, but he's definitely struggled early on, especially coming out of college at University of Louisville. I think they expect him to be a little bit more polished and to kind of hit right out of the gates. But, hitting professional pitching is never an easy chore. So again, Brand's still high on him. I mentioned that at number 6, KJ Harrison, he's got ranked fairly high. He's a catcher / if he doesn't make it as catcher, first baseman type. So he kind of has a similar profile was the Jacob Nottingham, but he says he's really high. I mean, he says he loves his hit tool, and he thinks that he's got a major league bat no matter what. Even Jacob Nottingham at number 11 overall is a little bit higher than some people now have on their list. I know his prospect status as well as his stock has been down over the last couple of years. Of course, this made his major league debut with the Brewers within this past homestand. I kind of agree that he'll have some role as a major leaguer going forward, although my chance of him being a solid regular starter, I think, is kind of waning, but you never know. I know I was listening on the radio, Bob Uecker really thinks highly of Jacob Nottingham, so there's still some hope for him. And there's Brand says another couple of guys that he thinks could shoot up these lists due to injury and suspension and whatnot are ranked about in the middle of this list. Our right-handed pitcher Phil Bickford, who came over, of course, in the trade to the Giants. He was one of the pieces that we saw left when we traded Will Smith over to the Giants. And then, of course, former top, I think, supplemental first-round draftee Nathan Kirby, left-handed pitcher from Virginia, I believe University of Virginia, has been injured, and he's kind of on a comeback trail as well. So overall, pretty good list. I think overall, going forward, I guess we'll throw this out before we let our next our fan email. Are there what players on this list do you feel you would not want the Brewers to trade at a deadline deal?
Can I just interject with one quick question? I guess I'm trying to understand how Cody Medeiros has remained as highly regarded of a prospect as he is. It just seems like he's struggled mightily ever since signing with the Brewers after being drafted as a number one pick for the Brewers a few years back. Maybe one of you guys could enlighten me as to why Medeiros is still valued as highly as he is.
Well, our farm system obviously has taken a hit with the Yelich trade, and all those guys traded would have been above. He's got Cody here at number 17 overall. I don't think that's too high. I agree that he's definitely got a rough go, but I think he still has a good arm, and sometimes left-handed pitchers develop later, so to speak. And Cody was drafted out of high school, out of Hawaii. I still think that he, at this point, would just be coming out of college at his age. So I don't think the light is completely out on him. I think there's still some hope for him to be either a back-end starter or at least a lefty middle reliever. So I still think he has a major league quality arm, and that's probably why Brand still has him in the top 20, as most other people do too. It also, though, sheds some light on how our system is not necessarily a top 10 system anymore, especially after the Yelich trade. Really, the only blue chippers I see on this list that I'd be hesitant to trade in a deal unless it would really bring someone back of significance would be Corbin Burns and Keston Hiura. Besides that, I think a lot of these guys, I would not hesitate to package them in a deal to improve the Major League Ball club.
Yeah, I think it definitely falls off a little bit after that. I also wanted to let you know that Cody so far this year, just a quick update after 15 innings of work, he's got an ERA of 0.6, so he's not letting anybody score, but he's got 10 walks now to 13 Ks, and so kind of like you were saying, I mean, he's got the stuff, but he's just still too raw, and the control's just not where it needs to be yet. So hopefully, the famed Brewer coaching staff will be able to develop him, hone in his skills a little bit and develop another great pitcher like we're so accustomed to doing.
No, yeah. I mean, if he's going to walk that many batters, that type of control is just not going to cut it, even as a reliever. So, again, I think he's still got some time in the minor leagues to try to work it out. And sometimes the light switch goes on, but with his lack of command and even control, that's definitely not sitting. I mean, it's not looking too great for a former number one pick. The other guy that I'm going to mention on this list, so I think could be on the top of the list next year, given graduations and whatnot, is our second-round pick from last year, and that's Tristan Lutz, outfielder we drafted out of high school. I'm pretty high on him. I think that he could be a great, almost all-star level outfielder, but it may take several years for him to break through the major leagues since he was only 18, just drafted last summer, so you might be looking at 3 to 4 years before he starts to sniff the upper levels of the minor leagues. But I think he could really shoot up these prospects all the way to the top of the prospect list here. So
yeah, he's off to a little bit of a slow start too. But I think a lot of this, especially when you're talking about bats, I mean, the weather's been horrible so far this year, pretty much everywhere. And Lutz is. 48 at bats at 21 Ks to just 3 walks. Is hitting $125 with just 6 hits, just 2 extra base hits. So I'm not worried about it. It's such a small sample size, but obviously not the start that he was looking for. But hopefully, when the weather warms up, so will the bat.
Yeah, because I mean he absolutely raked last year, and but you never know. Same thing. Lucas Irsig, who's now number 12 on the list, a lot of people had him in their top 5. He raked coming out of college, his first year in the minor leagues too, and his stock is also down. We'll see. But like I said, there's just not that many blue chip guys that I really think are surefire major leaguers even on this list. But I do think there will be plenty of major league contributors, and we'll see going forward. So we'll do another update at the list as toward the end of the season or after the draft. Once those guys get their feet wet, to give you more ranking. Brand will put together on the other list. So, okay, guys, let's move on now to our fan email bag. I know we used to have Cooper, the email retriever, back when we were on set, but Scott's intern got this together this time. All right. So here's our first question. It's sent in from Fred from Mayville, Wisconsin, and here's what he writes. As I'm listening to your podcast and watching the Brewers, Jesus Aguilar slams a walk-off versus Miami. He's like, okay. All right, I guess here's my question, guys. I think that Aguilar should be starting at first base, or at least sharing starts equally with the way that he's hitting. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts on that. And also, do you think Aguilar is just best kept as one of our best pinch hitters in all of baseball in his current role? Or do you think that the Brewers should do more to get his bat in the lineup? Scott, you want to start us off, Scott?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And actually, here's a little bit of a fun fact. At the time of this taping, the Brewers' first baseman, who's ever playing at first, the three-headed monster, if you will, between Thames and Aguilar and Braun, have had the best wins above replacement than anyone in the league. So our first basemen are doing a phenomenal job, even though there's obviously a lot of rotating going on there. I certainly think that Aguilar he's proven himself enough that he probably deserves more at-bats. And, with Thames being able to play outfield and, of course, Braun being able to play outfield, I think that that's a good option. The only thing is that Thames, for the most part, he's gonna get at-bats at first against righties. But, again, you can move him to the outfield if need be. So, I definitely think Aguilar deserves more at-bats. As far as whether or not he should be just a pinch hitter, I think it's obviously something he's thrived at, but I think we'd be underutilizing him if we just did that. So, he deserves more at-bats, but I don't expect him to, take over the position or be an everyday starter anytime soon.
Vince?
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with Scott's assessment there. You don't mess with the Jesus Aguilar, and I don't know that we want to change something that's been working so well. So I look at the numbers from our three first basemen, and as Scott pointed out, that these guys have been performing as a triple threat essentially. And I think that if you're Craig Counsell, you're adjusting that starter based on matchups and the hand of the person that's pitching for the opposing team. And I like what we're doing so far. So I'd love to see him get a few more at bats, but and then late in the game though, it's great to have a weapon like Aguilar off the bench where you can count on him to have a good at bat, like what happened a few nights ago against Miami. So I'm in favor of keeping the status quo with a few more at bats for Aguilar as well.
And one at bat that was a 13-pitch at bat that ended up with a walk-off home run. Look, I guess going into the season or toward the end of spring training, once it was announced that Braun would be given at bats at first base, I think a lot of Brewer fans prior to the season thought that Jesus Aguilar was not going to make the team because basically there just being no at bats available for him. And not only did they maybe think he wouldn't make the team if he were to get cut by the Brewers, I think there was some question on whether or not he would make another roster when there are other guys, similar profiles, even like Mark Reynolds, who are still, as of today's date, still without any type of major league job. So, and we know what all happened with Chris Carter from a few years back, who led our team in basically the NL and home runs, and then wasn't offered a contract by the Brewers. So, again, his profile. With that being said, I do think, obviously, Jesus is a great weapon off the bench, and I guess my initial reaction is I kind of want to leave it that way. Overall, to be quite honest, I almost would rather have Jesus' that in the lineup somehow, even over a guy like Domingo Santana, because I believe he truly is a better hitter. With that being said, with us still having Santana on the roster, there's too many mouths to feed, so to speak, and I don't know if he should be share. The question basically asked is that if he should share starts equally. So equally, I'm thinking he's named just equally with Thames and having Braun stick to more of his outfield starts. Well, if you think of it this way, it would be nice to have a straight platoon between Thames and Aguilar, but the problem with that is Braun needs to get some at-bats at first base too. So once again, you're just down to he's going to get some spot starts and some hitting off the bench and pinch hitting roles, and I think that that's an okay role for him. I think he's just lucky and happy just to be on the team, and he seems to excel in those pinch hitting roles. And not every player can do that, to come in cold and not having started several games, coming off the bench, and he seems to really have pride in that role. So I guess overall, the answer to the question, my thoughts on it would be to keep him in that role and not be too concerned with getting his bat in the lineup that much more, but except for when it basically calls for it.
So none of us really want to mess with the Jesus, but I think that you're going to see too the situation in the outfield continuing. So Braun will get some at bats in the outfield. We've seen Yelich has already been on the disabled list. Kane has been banged up a little bit. So we're going to see Braun playing a bit in the outfield still as well. So it'll be nice to be able to have a guy like Braun who can play several different positions. I mean, you could put him at first base, you could put him in left field or right field. He's played all three positions within the last couple of seasons. So hypothetically, you could move over another outfielder. So there's going to be at-bats for all these guys.
And I think having the depth, especially with all the injuries that pop up, especially with guys like Braun, and we've already seen it with Kane and Yelich, that having that depth is really a valuable thing, a luxury that the Brewers are lucky to have. It makes us a better team. With that being said, I still have hopes that Domingo Santana can be traded, because ideally our outfield of Braun, Yelich, and Kane, to me, is one of the best outfielders in baseball. And then having a straight platoon at first base with Thames and Aguilar sounds perfect, if you ask me. And obviously Thames is having another great April. So I just don't think there's room on this club beyond this year for Domingo Santana. But you never know. So we'll see. So, all right, perhaps we have time for one more question. This one, thanks again for your emails, guys. This one comes in from Alan from Madison. His question is, with injured catchers Manny Pena and Stephen Vogt ready to come back soon, what do you guys think that will happen to Jeff Bandy and Jacob Nottingham? Will they be sent down to the minors? Will there possibly be a trade? Will they consider keeping 3 catchers on the roster? What do you guys think?
I think that Nottingham is a pretty clear-cut case where he's going to be sent back to the minor leagues. He's got options remaining. He's a younger guy. He could still use some more development. Jeff Bandy, I think he's going to have to be exposed to waivers if we were to try to send him down. My guess is that, well, I don't know if he's going to be claimed or not, but I would think that Bandy's gone from the roster, at least on the active Major League roster. If we can keep him around his organizational depth, that's great. But if not, it is what it is. So I have a feeling that Bandy's time with the Brewers may be coming to a close here in the next week or so.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's out options. Pena is definitely the front runner. He's the best of the bunch. And then Vogt is pretty handily second of the 4 there. Nottingham definitely has options. It's nice that he got a quick cup of coffee here, but it's time for him to go down and refine his skills a little bit more. He's got some things to work on for sure. I just don't think his bat's ready for major league hitting just yet. But I agree that Bandy, he's out of options. I guess there's a slight chance that if somebody really, really liked Bandy, they could trade virtually nothing for him, or cash considerations or something like that, so that they have a shot on him, or just so that they don't have to do a waiver. But I don't know. I mean, I think I think Bandy's days are numbered, unfortunately for him.
Yeah, and I think you guys both nailed the nail right on the head with both your answers, and I agree with them fully. Jeff Bandy has put together some nice at bats and called some nice games, especially in his last homestand. I'll give him credit for that. But basically, if you look at our catcher depth charts, I'd say Manny Pena is at top of it for sure. Doing in the season and still now, right-handed, he'll get almost all the starts against lefties, and even half the ones against right-handers. And so it won't be a straight platoon. But I think Steven Vogt, when he gets healthy, is a left-handed hitter and a nice Russian presence. He'll be the backup catcher and get a fair amount of at bats too. And so that basically, like you guys said, Nottingham will get sent back down. He got a little bit of MLB time, and he'll be better off for it. And Bandy, if we have to explode in the waivers, he might not clear, but if he gets picked up by someone else, we still have, some other depth in the minor league, so I'm not too concerned. Nottingham obviously being able to come back up in case of injury going forward, and it is what it is. But yeah, like Scott said, I don't think the trading would even be worthwhile. So if someone offers anything for him, we might take it, but hopefully makes it back down to AAA for some more depth, and he could be back up to help later in the year, but you just never know. So
we also have Christian Bethencourt still in our system too, who could be added to the 40-man if we really needed another catcher too, with some major league experience.
Yeah, that's a great point, Ben.
And I don't think there's any way just to finish it off. I don't see any way that the Brewers keep 3 catchers on the roster or up in the bigs. I don't see that happening at all.
No, no. I mean, especially with how much we use our bullpen, I think that we're definitely not going to sacrifice the bullpen arm in order to keep a third catcher. So thanks again for sending in the email.
Maybe we can throw out a little nod for our fans. If you're not following us on Twitter, you can find us. What's our Twitter handle, Scott?
It is Brew Crew Review and then the number 1.
And you can also email us your questions at brewcrewreviewpodcast@gmail.com. Love to be in touch with you guys.
Yep, all our fans are awesome.
All right, well, that wraps up for this week. And remember,
stay classy, Wisconsin.
And go Brewers.
Go Brewers.